for to the AIOS and Manish for having me here, and Novartis. So today the topic for discussion is practical approach to maximum medical therapy. And this is a very, very important topic as we came to know that there are a lot of adherence and persistence issues as we increase the number of drops from Dr. Rajul's talk and what Harsh sir also said. It is very, very important for us to choose the right candidates for maximum medical therapy and then make sure that the treatment does not affect their quality of life adversely. So, by definition, it is the use of multiple classes, that is more than 3 of medications, usually topical. Oral can be included in exceptional cases, that is maximally tolerated by an individual. This is with an idea to prevent progression, that is the ideal basic outcome, and that is achieved by achieving the target IOP, which is frequently dynamic. This has to be done with minimal side effects, local as well as systemic, with least effect on the quality of life and at an affordable cost. Because all these 3 factors will affect the adherence to treatment. Now, actually, if you see the first 2 and the next 3 lines are exactly opposite to each other, so it's a paradox technically, but it has to be achieved in certain conditions. So, basic tenet of clinical practice is first do no harm. So, no medicine is best medicine and least medicine is the best alternative. So, until sufficient merit to the contrary, the onus to prove it lies on us. So, there are certain situations that demand usage of multiple medications in clinical setting, and we have to take contrarian calls to the basic tenet of clinical practice. We will just see that in form of examples. So, why do we need to understand the use of multiple drugs, multiple drugs responsibly? That's because if you see the evidence, that is with the CIGTS and the OATH study, the need for more than 2 drugs was extremely frequent once we ended up at the 2 to 5 year natural history of glaucoma. So we will be ending up using more than 1 drug. So we need to know how to how to use multiple drugs in a responsible manner, ensuring nil progression, at the same time good medication adherence. So now we have certain clinical situations that require maximal medical therapy, and it needs complete patient participation. You will see how. So there are conditions like clinical compulsion, patient factors or patient's wish, physician's judgment, that is risk-benefit ratio vis-a-vis quality of life and achieving target IOP, and conditions where maximum medical therapy principle does not hold good. So we'll see each one of them to understand the case in point. So you see a case of clinical compulsion. Here you have a 35-year-old female patient who's at home. She develops intermittent high IOP on drops. Her medical history is both eyes status post retinal detachment surgery. The right eye, which is the only seeing eye, status post Ahmed glaucoma explant due to erosion. She hardly has any healthy conjunctiva. Best corrected visual acuity is 636. Left eye is a prosthetic eye. Central corneal thickness 532. Conjunctiva is scarred with no mobility. There is scleral thinning 360 degrees, as you can see in the photograph, including the limbal area and subluxation of the bigavial complex. The disc is pale with a near total cup. Multiple opinions have been taken and no intervention has been advised. This eye is just too sick to be operated. So the current treatment is oral acetazolamide, sustained release once a day, with monthly monitoring of renal function tests, travoprost and timolol fixed dose combination once a day, and brimonidine 0.1% 3 times a day. With the above treatment, the patient is maintaining 10 millimeters of mercury with a relatively stable field, although the field is extremely small and central. But that's all that you can do in such a case. So this is a case where there is a clinical compulsion for maximum medical therapy, and these patients are usually very highly motivated to put all the drops on time. Second is a condition where the patient does not wish for any other therapy and hence maximum medical therapy. So it's a 73-year-old gentleman, retired, case of high myopia with congenital cataract operated, systemically normal. Both eyes status post retinal detachment surgery, both eyes pseudophakia with secondary ACIL done at a later age. His status post trabeculectomy with mitomycin C with a flat bleb on either side. Or rather on the left side, that is the seeing eye. OD vision is finger counting close to face. OS is 6/36. The IOP is 2 millimeters in the right eye, 12 millimeters in the left eye, with a corneal thickness of 509 and 660 in the pathological eye. That's the right eye. So the patient, if you can see the photographs here, he had recession of the conjunctiva and scarring here in the infratemporal quadrant. He has a secondary ACIL in place. and he had a superior temporal quadrant, which was quite virgin with good conjunctival mobility for doing a IML glaucoma valve implant. Now, considering his, if you can see the field of vision on the right side near the central fixation and being the only seeing eye, he was offered Ahmed glaucoma valve surgery around 5 years back. But because he was one-eyed, he chose, after due information and due diligence, he chose to undergo maximum medical therapy and wait on it because he was risk averse for doing one more procedure on his eye. So current treatment is travoprost, timolol fixed dose combination once, brinzolamide, brimonidine fixed dose combination twice, and netarsudil at bedtime, which was added recently because we wanted to maintain the targets as low as possible since he has a good 15 years life expectancy with central tubular fields. So this is another case where you have to respect the patient wish and make him a participatory party to the decision making process. Now, the third one is physician's judgment, that is the risk-benefit ratio vis-a-vis the quality of life and achieving targets. Now, you can see this is a 60-year-old male with well-controlled, who is now well-controlled systemically. He's a business owner and a swimming enthusiast. Now, best corrected visual acuity is 6.6 N6. You can see the OCT on the right side has diffuse nerve fiber loss, which is significantly advanced. At presentation, his IOP was 34. Now, currently 10 on medical therapy. His central corneal thickness is average. Fields, you can see that he is stable over the last 6 years, 5 to 6 years when he's been on treatment. And both eyes of the OCT show advanced loss. Now, his quality of life was important to him. He was a swimming enthusiast. He's a business owner. He cannot put too many medications. At the same time, he cannot have too much of cosmetic problem because of his business. Now, luckily for us, we could manage to put him on maximum medical therapy for the last 6 years. That is travoprost once a day, timolol, travoprost and timolol combination, and brinzolamide and brimonidine. Surprisingly for us, if you see his photograph, eyes are absolutely white. Don't appear of too much of side effects of brinzolamide, brimonidine combination, which we are oftenly seeing. So we should not be prejudiced beforehand and think about redness. But some of the patients do really well, and if they are well controlled medically, and if you get such a straight line on progression, then I think we are well served doing giving maximum medical therapy to these patients. Now, consider the scenario where we would not wait for a maximum medical therapy trial. Now, this is a 45-year-old homemaker. She has her homework to do, her children's studies pretty busy during the day. Best corrected visual acuity of 6.6 N6, and she's a low myope with lattice degeneration. Best IOP on treatment is 17 with a travoprost timolol fixed dose combination and brimonidine 0.1% with normal corneal thickness. She had a history of angle closure, gonioscopy and appositional closure, so she underwent a YAG PI, following which she had a persistent iridotrabecular contact. Then we did an iridoplasty. After that, she has been open, but and because being a myope, we did not add pilocarpine in her case, even though she had some element of plateau iris. Her structure function graphs are indicated here. She had progression, relentless progression on structure as well as function over the period of the last few years. And because of her age, location of scotoma, quality of life, on adding another medication and progression, we had to discuss surgery in this particular case. So this is a case where you wouldn't wait on maxi or try to go to maximum medical therapy, considering all the other factors or all the other risk factors at hand. Now, so how do we embark on maximum medical therapy? Now, this is a ready reckoner slide where you can easily see the drugs. The slide for the efficacy has been shown previously, but what is different is the side effects on the left side. So the left side column will basically decide what is maximum medical therapy in a given individual depending upon his systemic risk profile. So we have around 6 classes of drugs with us, but that does not mean all the 6 will constitute maximum medical therapy in every case. That is the moot point. So prototype for maximum medical therapy question here is, the patient is a 63-year-old male businessman, insulin-dependent diabetic, asthma on Rotahilar with sulfa allergy. Intraocular pressure is 18 on prostaglandin monotherapy. Central corneal thickness is normal, and he has a moderate glaucoma, not threatening fixation. He has severe itching and redness with brimonidine in the last episode when it was introduced. So what options do we have considering what I showed you in the last chart? So in his case, the maximum medical therapy, you can add 2 more drugs, that is cholinergic or ROCK inhibitors. Cholinergics being physiologically opposite to the action of prostaglandin analogs. Your next choice will be the ROCK inhibitor inhibitors. So, as Rocklatan has already given us the additive efficacy of prostaglandin and ROCK inhibitors, in his case, the maximum medical therapy would constitute prostaglandin and ROCK inhibitors, and then surgery if it does not control the progression of glaucoma. Now, setting the target IOP is very well known. We always know that if there is advanced glaucoma, targets would be low. If there is moderate glaucoma, targets will be intermediate. And if there is early glaucoma, targets can be slightly more relaxed. So we have to be very mindful of the age, general status, life expectancy, the treatment naive IOP levels when we make this decision. And this has been a consensus with all the glaucoma societies thus far. As far as the treatment algorithms here of the Asia Pacific Society and European Society is concerned, if you can see here, after the second or third drug, usually the option for surgery or laser is discussed. Obviously, this is for open angle glaucoma. In case there is angle closure glaucoma, the laser will factor in earlier. And as I told you, the other risk factors will definitely tell us when to take off from the concept of maximum medical therapy and think about a surgical intervention. So caveats to maximum medical therapy are, it does not mean use of all drugs available at disposal in all cases. You have to consider mechanisms of action and interactions with other classes, like, for example, PGA and cholinergics. Each subsequent addition of medication has a lesser additive effect than the previous one. Each addition increases the chance of ocular toxicity and non-adherence. Already Dr. Rajul has covered very well. In highly individualized for a particular patient, depending on life expectancy, stage of disease, and comorbidities. Thus, it is not mandatory to apply the rule of MMT in every case. Variability in drug responses, including non-responders, has to be definitely kept in mind. So, the method of introduction or scaling of maximum medical therapy is, first you establish the target IOP. The sequence has been already told to you, unless contraindicated, depending on the IOP lowering ability and dosing frequency top-down. The PGA, beta blockers, carbonic anhydrase, alpha agonists, ROCK inhibitors, and cholinergics in that order, depending upon the indications and the contraindications. Each pair to be combined into fixed dose combinations to reduce the number of drops per day. So effectively, we can come down by almost 3 to 4 drops a day, which is very good for the quality of life of the patient. Additive efficacy to be verified after 2 to 4 weeks, and inadequate or non-response should enforce a switch before an add. Avoid pushing an FDC directly unless there is an acute elevation of intraocular pressure. So you see that the drug works first individually and then make it into a combination after individual efficacy is established. So as it is today, maximum medical therapy is as follows. In 1990, we had 3 bottles, 3 drugs, and 6 plus drops per day. In 2014, we had 3 bottles, 4 drugs, and 5 to 6 drops per day. In 2017, we have 2 bottles, 4 drugs, and 3 to 4 drops per day. And in 2020, we have 3 bottles, 5 drugs with 4 to 5 drops per day. Now, these have to be continued over a lifetime. So this is very, very important. And you may not get all eyes as you see on the left side. Some eyes may be like the one on the right side also. So decision should be highly individualized. So you have to see the practicality, whether the patient is professional or retiree. You have to see the cost. You have to see the adherence. You have to see the ocular surface condition. So for each individual case, maximum medical therapy will have its own version. So remember one thing, as we increase the number of medications, the role of non-API or non-active pharmaceutical ingredient agents will be important, because they affect the bioavailability, they affect the half-life, they affect the leaching into the bottle polymer, and they affect degradation in storage. So what happens is, when you have innovator molecules who have done extensive trials, they have a wee bit of advantage when it comes to polypharmacy, because the formulations are much more tightly regulated and much more studied as compared to non-innovator molecules. So this is something that we need to consider when we are at the extreme of medications and putting all medications and bombing them on the ocular surface at one time. Excipients are also very important. These are the tightly guarded secrets of the pharma industry. Although the main API can come out, usually excipients and their proportions are not disclosed in open markets. And these can definitely clinch the advantage in cases where polypharmacy is involved, just to minimize the side effects, considering that you have to put the drugs for a lifetime on the ocular surface. So they are important to modulate the side effects and maintain the efficacy of the molecules. So in conclusion, definition of maximum medical therapy is individualized and does not mean all medications for all patients before surgery. You have to be sure of the additive effect when increasing the treatment. Remember the law of diminishing returns when you add more drugs. The quality of life, affordability, and economics will affect the decision. The risk of ocular surface disease multiplies with more drops and preservatives, and the number of drops and the pharmaceutics become important in the setting of maximum medical therapy. So, as rightly said in the previous talk, fixed dose combinations work very well by reducing the number of drops and increasing the adherence to treatment. And always remember, it has a multi-dimensional implications on patient's life, and always involve the patient in decision-making process when deciding on maximum medical therapy. Thank you for your patient hearing.